my name is Luke Baldwin and welcome to the first of 2 nights of Forge Debates 2018. Tonight we'll be talking to the candidates for Development, International, President and Activities. Should be an entertaining evening and hopefully helps you decide who you want to be part of your next officer team. Head over to @News on Forge at Twitter, @News on Forge on Twitter, or ForgeToday/elections for all the latest, and have your say using the hashtag KnowYourVote. There will also be analysis for each debate, which should be available tomorrow. But right now, let's go straight underway with the debate for development. So, our candidates are Andy Tyler, Charlie Stephen, Emily Banks, Georgia Clark, and Mel Key. Welcome all. Thank you very much for waiting. So, my first question for you is, do you know what the Officers' Objective Fund is? So, we'll start with Andy on that one. No worries if not.
Yes, it's the money that the officers are allocated to fulfil their objectives and their manifesto points.
Perfect. Do any of you know how much that fund actually is?
It's £10,000, I think, yeah.
£10,000 straight away. Good job. So, financing, as a development officer, you'll be deciding how much funding the different committees get. Finance and budgeting is a huge part of this role. What are your financial credentials and how do you plan to use this experience when allocating how much committees get? We'll start with Mel on that one.
I think, well, it's not a very professional credential, but I did A-level maths and I really enjoy working with numbers. I'm a society president of a small society, and I've helped the treasurer a lot. He didn't really fall easily into his role, so I think those are probably my financial credentials. What was the other part of the question, sorry?
How do you plan on using these credentials to decide which committee gets which money?
Well, I'd like to probably most importantly listen to what the students want. As you can see from my top, my main point is environmental sustainability, so that would definitely be a key decider in how I thought it was important for money to be allocated to, but yeah.
On to Georgia, sorry.
That is correct. So I'm a psychology student, so stats is like, unfortunately, a requirement. But I think I did quite well in stats, I would like to think. And I do love a good spreadsheet, I have to say. So yeah, I think in terms of allocating money to committees, I think sort of seeing what they plan to spend money on is the most important thing, because just giving a society money without me knowing what they're going to spend it on is just a bit of a free for all, I think.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think that's.
Emily?
Okay, so I've done 2 internships with the Times 100 top employers. I've worked with global corporates and other big businesses, and also worked through their budgets. And so I've got pretty lot of experience working with budgets and also businesses and enterprises. And so I think I'd be fine allocating budgets to societies.
On to Charlie.
So at the moment, I'm a chair of a group called Save Our Sandwiches, and we sell tote bags and badges and stuff. So I deal with a lot of people buying that sort of stuff and dealing with the treasurer and helping make sure that that's put into our account and stuff and then donated. I also currently work in venues downstairs in the Students' Union, and I handle a lot of money there. And yeah.
And last, Andy.
Sorry, can you repeat the question just so
no
I got
problem.
both parts?
So, what are your, obviously finance is a huge part of the role. We just want to know, what are your credentials? What do you think qualifies you to do this? And also, how are you going to use that to allocate which committees get which budget?
So, I also did A-level maths and love spreadsheets as well as a computer science student. I have had a massive hand in how LGBT plus committee have spent their money recently with our treasurer. I've applied for lots of different funds in the union with our treasurer as well. I think I have quite a grasp of understanding on how the representative committees spend their money and how their money works, because it is quite different to how societies spend their money. Committees have their money given to them, whereas societies have a small amount given to them, but mostly have to go out and fund for it themselves. So I think I have an in-depth understanding of exactly of what's involved with that. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So, first question for individuals is to Emily. You're proposing a mobile U-card and free sanitary products. However, this is something already being done by the current development and women's officers. Are you aware of that?
No, I wasn't aware of that because I've spoke to many students who also aren't aware of that. I've gathered these manifesto points from speaking to students and also healthcare providers, such as those on Gell Street, who said it's really important to push especially the sanitary and the contraceptive sort of products. So I do know it is a need we need to get, but I wasn't completely aware that it was being done.
So now, bearing that in mind, how do you plan on putting your own stamp on the work of Celeste and Megan?
Well, I actually want to make sure it happens this year. I've looked at different software providers and online universities that are already doing that. So I've got an idea of how I'd take it personally as a role and also a manifesto point.
Next up, Andy, you have pledged to introduce a meal deal van outside the libraries. Are you not concerned that this could be very costly, leaving other officers with very little funding?
Yes, it will of course be costly. It will have overheads, but I think with the fact it being a union outlet, as all the other outlets in our union do, would turn a profit and bring in massive revenue for our union. I think that we will never be able to stop people buying meal deals. I think that we all have to on occasion, and I think that it would be so much better if we could. Instead of giving our money to uni outlets such as the IC Cafe and the Diamond, which are great, and also, but more importantly, Tesco's and Sainsbury's. I don't think we should be funding massive conglomerate companies when we could provide the service ourselves. And I think that if we had a meal deal van just outside the libraries, it would be much more convenient for people and cheaper as well to have the range that we have in our shop just outside.
So I just have. Oh my goodness.
Go on, well, Georgia.
So you said about not wanting to fund like Tesco and Sainsbury's. I understand that, but what about like independent businesses in Sheffield based around the union?
Yeah. Sheffield Student Union is a local business. It's also a charity, and I think that we, as a charity, we are here to provide a platform to benefit all students at our students' union. And I think that if we take away from massive companies, I think that's not a bad thing. It brings it to our, bringing it to ourselves.
Yeah, did you want to add anything?
We have the likes of like John's van outside the IC, which is essentially what you're saying in your manifesto. That's surely what you're suggesting here. No,
I think it's quite different actually. I think that John's van do, as I'm sure we'll all agree, fantastic breakfast, usually items. And I think that it's not going to take away from John's van, I wouldn't imagine. It's people, I envisage it taking away from everybody who goes to Sainsbury's at lunchtime and Tesco's at lunchtime. Instead of that, going to our meal deal van instead. I don't think it will. I think it's a different service.
Can I just quickly ask a question? Are you not concerned that it's going to contribute to even more food waste across the union, and it's going to be really bad for the environment to drive a van up and down the union every day?
I don't think it will. Just driving the van, it's a very short distance, and I'm sure that when we invest in the van, it would be, we make sure that we look at different sustainable options for the van, how it's fueled and powered. I think that's one of the biggest parts of this role is making sure that the everyday choices that the union makes in its business dealings are sustainable and don't impact on the environment any more than necessary.
We are going to have to move on, unfortunately, to the next candidate, which is Georgia.
Hello.
You plan to expand the Genius Card system.
Yes.
This card is actually, in fact, a university
Yes.
service.
Okay, so I found this out like after I put it on my manifesto. Basically, I think I would introduce a similar scheme to the Genius Card scheme, but in the SU. I think, if that was going to be your question.
So kind of like a loyalty card system.
Yes.
That's already been tried a couple times and it's been very unsuccessful, unfortunately.
Right.
What would you do to kind of make students aware of that, get them engaged in that?
Well, I think Freshers Week is a really big is a really good way of getting people involved with stuff, because we can sort of introduce it, well, sort of talk about it in halls and at university welcome talks and stuff like that. And so I think giving people rewards for actually, well, that's the whole idea of a loyalty scheme, I guess. Yeah, I've lost my train of thought a little bit. Yeah, I don't...
That's right.
Sorry.
Just a follow-up question as well.
Yeah.
So you also have proposed a platform to buy and sell old textbooks.
Yes.
Now, a lot of student-run departmental societies actually generate their revenue from used textbook events. Do you not worry that introducing a new platform would actually remove these opportunities for these societies?
Well, I feel like we could sort of, like a bit like eBay, sort of take a bit of the money back into the SU and sort of give it back to society.
Kind of redistribute it.
Yeah, yeah.
Next up is Mel. So all your policies seem to be focused on sustainability, as does your attire.
Yeah.
What other goals do you believe an SU development officer should be working towards?
Well, I believe an SU development officer should be about directing the SU in the way that the students want it to. I personally believe that environmental sustainability is the most important thing. I'm also aware of a survey that happened last year where the students voted sustainability the most important issue to them, but the one they felt the least, they had the least capacity to deal with. So that is, I think that it's relevant that a lot of my policies are about environmental sustainability. But I would say as development officer, it wouldn't be that I would listen to what students want, and I wouldn't necessarily only do things which are environmentally friendly, but whatever I did would be with sustainability at the heart of it, because I do think that is a very important current issue, and I think it's an issue that should be at the forefront of everything, which in our SU, but also influencing the wider society and students' lives.
Do you not worry that some of the other aspects of the role, like outlets, club nights, and the union finance, might take a bit of a back seat because of that?
No, not at all. I think that those things can have sustainability at the heart of them. So I don't know how much you know about people know about what the current development officer's done, but a lot of the things she's done have been to do with the outlets and things like that, but with sustainability at the heart of it. So encouraging reusable cups and lunchboxes to get you money off at the outlets and things like that, and bringing new products into the SU shop, things like that. So I think that I can deal with all of those things and address all of those things with sustainability at the heart of them.
Great. Anyone got any opinions on that? So, Charlie, last is, you say you want more gender-neutral facilities on campus.
Yep.
Other than more gender-neutral toilets, what does this entail?
What do you mean by that?
What other facilities?
Oh, no, I mainly just mean toilets, really.
Mainly toilets.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You also spoke a bit about your classes on sustainability for students.
Mm-hmm.
How do you plan to implement these and generate student interest in attending these events?
Okay, so, I mean, obviously the number one thing is advertising it, getting out to students. I mean, students famously love free things, so I think advertising some sort of incentive for them to come along would be a major help. So something like that I thought of would be really interesting would be to do things on food waste and how we can use food that would be being thrown out. So something that would get them to come along would be free food, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Sorry, did you have...
Isn't that just counterproductive though, because you're trying to send a message on food waste but offering more food which will probably be wasted?
What I mean by food waste is food that is already past its best before date, so it won't. It can be used by these students, or afterwards it can be turned into biofuel or something as well.
So to get students to come to your food waste event, you would offer food that's out of date?
It's not out of date. Best
date.
before date's different to use by date. Use by.
Is that what you're essentially saying?
Not really, no.
Okay, so really quickly, last question, just 20 seconds on this one. You've got an idea that you know will really benefit students, but it'll cost a large amount of investment. It's been a tough year for social enterprise and budgets are tight. How do you overcome this? We will start with, we'll go back front, Charlie again.
Sorry, what was the question? I missed it.
You've got an idea that you know will really benefit students, but it'll cost a large amount of investment. It's been a tough year for social enterprise and budgets are tight. How do you overcome this?
Well, primarily I would like to see if, so talk to students and ask what sort of ideas they would really like to see implemented in the Students' Union. So something that I thought would be really good was to sort of do open meetings with people. So finding out what students want primarily and where they think funding should be spent. And then even the budget's tight, make sure that the funding is being put towards things that students want.
Perfect. So, Andy, what's your thoughts on that one? On the question?
Yeah, so I've actually been involved with a very similar thing that's just happened in my committee, and it actually turns out that there's a lot of funds you can apply for at officer level and at different levels. For example, there's just been a large funding for something that I've worked on from the Alumni Fund. There's campaigns funds in the union, and there's a lot of money in some of these pots that's available. Also, if it was the case that there was just no money, it would be perhaps scaling it back and thinking about how you could implement it in a more cheaper way and then build on that.
Great. Like I said, really quick now. Emily?
Okay, so I actually have experience working with social enterprises. I actually started making one for myself, so I've got quite a lot of experience working with efficiency savings, and really saving money where it needs to be saved.
Great. Georgia?
So I think highlighting the benefits for students is going to be the best way of getting, if there is very little funding, I want that little bit of funding, and really demonstrating what the benefits are, going talking to students. Yeah, basically.
Great. And last is Mel.
I think I would try and find a way to do it with the money that is available, so without detrimenting the amount of money there is, but trying to find a way to do it, get the positive effect, but with the money that you have.
Great. And that is it for the Development Officers debate. We're going to take a short break now. Up next is activities. Cheers. Hello and welcome back to the second debate of tonight of Forge Debates 2018. We are here with the Activities Officer candidates, starting with Cecilia, Harry, Hannah, Inez, Luke and Zanair. So, same again, specific questions first. My first question is to Harry. Can you just clarify what is your policy towards students with participation grants? You speak a bit about it in your manifesto.
Yeah, well, I just think it's really important that no one gets priced out of any activities or societies. So I know there is obviously a participation grants program already. My main thing is kind of campaigning like to defend that basically, because there's a lot of cuts going on in education at the moment. And I think it's really important that we protect that so that no one misses out on having the full student experience at university, regardless of their background.
Do you have a rough idea of how many students are kind of using participation grants at the minute?
I don't have a figure or anything, no.
No, that's fair. Well, have you worked out costs of what this sort of kind of would take to defend participation grants? How much is actually spent on what participation grants, anything like that?
No, it's much more just a kind of case of defending what we already have. I'm not going to be arguing. I know there are cuts. I'm not going to propose anything overly unrealistic. It's much more a case of not letting the programme get stripped away rather than trying to expand it to unrealistic means.
Next is Luke. So can you expand and detail your policy on rewarding inclusive societies?
Yeah, so at the moment, we've obviously got the Society of the Week, which is run by SOTCOM, which every week a society can put themselves forward, and they can earn, I think it's something like some coffee red vouchers or something. It's fairly low-level rewards, because obviously it's every week, can't be spent. So one of the things that I would like to create is perhaps every twice a semester is what I was thinking, a sort of award system where you can go towards, you can apply, and the things you'd be getting much larger rewards because it would be only twice a semester. Perhaps like discounted meals for the entire society. So there would be society-wide benefits as well. It wouldn't just be for the committee. And basically, the groups I want to sort of include in this are international students, postgrads, because I think those are the two main groups that often can feel left out of the standard uni experience. Especially if they're not getting involved in societies because societies are more going on bar crawls and stuff like that. So I'm looking to promote societies to do activities that don't just involve getting drunk down West Street.
Do you not feel that certain societies draw certain groups of people, though, and that with societies being very specific interests, it's hard to kind of change what the demographic of that society is?
No, I'm not looking to change the demographic of societies dramatically. I'm looking more with departmental societies especially and widening that, because obviously special interest societies are always going to exist, and I think those do a really good job of involving people who don't normally fit the criteria that departmental societies normally attract, which is more the sort of students who enjoy doing more sort of bar crawl type activities.
So next is Cecilia. Aside from the alternative varsity, your manifesto is kind of vague at points. For example, your Discover manifesto point doesn't contain much substance other than find your hidden talent with CC, as well as your Giving Back pledge, which just involves a kind of vague notion of supporting our local community. So we just want to see, like, can you expand on any of them points? Can you talk about maybe how you plan on implementing them goals?
So the whole idea behind Discovery is basically when you start uni, there's so many different societies and a lot of people don't know what is out there. And so the whole idea from that is I want to support all societies to make them inclusive for people joining uni, whether they're undergrads, first years or postgrads or international students, so they can try something new that they would never have thought of trying before. So for example, with me, the first time I stepped into the SU, someone came up to me with a sign saying, "Oh, do you want to hitchhike across Europe?" And I'd never in a million years thought about hitchhiking. And then, is this working? Yeah. And then with the giving back, because we spend a lot of time as students in different cities. So for example, I come from Newcastle and I'm living in Sheffield. I feel like it's really important to give back to the local society. So that would be with enhancing the connections that we already have with local organisations and charities, and making other societies aware of the ways that they can get involved, making the charitable spending more transparent so people know where the money's going.
So next is Zaner. You've spoke a bit about building a rapport between the societies and yourself. We just wanted to see how you would actually go about building that rapport.
So I didn't really get your question. So
so you've spoken about how you're going to achieve a better rapport between societies and yourself, as you have stated in your manifesto.
Oh, what I've stated in my manifesto is basically inter-collaborative events between societies. So, for example, lesser-known societies such as, or less popular, I would say, societies such as Chess Player Society or Comic Sock or, Pocky Sock, and we can actually, they can collaborate with the national societies and the more popular societies, and they can collaborate events together. Yeah. So, like, they could actually get a recognition. That was the actual point.
So just different societies kind of working together to do big events.
Yeah, so like that would actually give recognition to the lesser known societies and their members as well. Yeah.
And last is Hannah. So you talk about lending and renting equipment between societies. Though great in theory, how do you prioritize equipment when multiple societies need it?
That's a very difficult question. Well, the theory is basically I'd like to run it as a kind of, we have the university swap shop. And I was thinking about the fact that we could get societies a little bit more involved with the swap shop rather than creating an individual, separate way of swapping resources, sorry. But I was also thinking that a lot of my society's equipment goes unused quite often. We have a lot of certain things that we're not really often needing, and I think that other societies could definitely use them. There's things like, I know Dance Society has kit that they're not always using, they use it for showcases, and I think that's something that other performance societies could use. Same with the performing arts societies. I think they have a lot of costumes, they have a lot of outfits that could be used by other performing societies.
And so last is Inez. You spoke about a committee pantry in the SU. The SU is really, really limited for space, so where would you actually have this pantry?
Yeah, I did consider about that. It's going to be in there, the committee hub. I know that it's new. I know that it's just 1 year. But it's not going to be loads of facilities inside about a committee pantry. It's just going to be really basic facilities, for example, like a mini microwave, a mini fridge, and just a tea cup, that kind of stuff. So that's why I was thinking to transform the current committee hub into a mini committee pantry, so that every committees from different societies can get involved, can get inside in the committee hub. Because currently I know that it's just for representative committee, which is just really relatively low usage, I would say, because I read through all kind of usage. Just currently really low usage, and I think it would be so much worthwhile if we can transform it to be a committee pantry or whatever you call it, a shared public space for every committee members from different societies can walk in and they don't need to book the place. They can just walk in and kind of check with different societies members. They can enhance the activity engagement.
Who'd be responsible for cleaning this room out of interest? Because I know the porters are quite tricky sometimes with that kind of thing.
I would say that would be a shared responsibility, because I would say that would be in a system of using the U-card. As long as you are the committee member, you need to swap it in order to get in. So that's why you will know that who are the people inside the area in that particular period. So that's why you will need to take care of your behavior, so then you know that you walk in and you need to take care of this particular pantry.
Okay. So, last question for all of you. This is just a general question. So, over the last few years, we have seen a major increase in the amount of students requiring financial support from things such as the participation grant, as Harry touched on before. How do you plan to tackle this ongoing issue? So, we'll start with Inez again.
I would say, I think participation grant is a really big issue currently. So that's why I would say one of my main policy is that I want to have encourage people to do volunteering stuff. So then it would encourage local community to come over here and to exchange their ideas and to work with us. So then the local charities and local community, they will have their events, and with low course or free in 3 course. So that's why they don't need to pay a particular fee in order to join this, the events.
Hannah?
Sorry, would you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. So over the last few years, we have seen a major increase in the amount of students requiring financial support from things such as the participation grant. How do you plan to tackle this ongoing issue?
So the policy that you just asked me about is one that I put in place to hopefully free up a little bit of funding. It would just mean that societies are spending less on their equipment, and therefore there will be more money in circulation in the union. So I think that money could be better used in maybe encouraging other people to join in with these activities, and that would help alongside the participation grant. I also have a policy about the participation grant, which is to broaden the application dates, which I think would allow for like more people to think about whether they really need one, whether there's an activity that they are interested in getting involved in, rather than giving them a few weeks at the start of the year and a few weeks just after refreshers to think, maybe that is something that I'm interested in.
Zanetta, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, basically, what I've realized is most of the times people don't actually need participation grants. It's just that it's more of a word of mouth. They hear it from someone else and they think that they may need it for a certain activity where they actually don't need it. So, as Anna said, yeah, we can actually broaden the deadline. And moreover, we can use like small businesses, and the SU and the university itself can actually work with the small businesses and make activities that can actually provide fundings to small businesses that can provide fundings for participation grants and stuff.
Luke?
So basically, in my experience of running a society, we're quite lucky in that we earn a fair amount of money off doing gigs and stuff. So we were able to actually subsidise a tour to Amsterdam by £38 per person. And that's something I've worked with my society to do, and with my committee. The whole point is lowering costs. Now, most societies aren't as lucky as us. They don't do the kind of stuff that we do to earn money. So with various societies, I want to promote sponsorship with local businesses. It's one of my manifesto pledges. And I believe it's the best way for societies which can't earn money other than from their members to go out and work with and partner with local businesses, not just the classic sort of bars and stuff, with various different local enterprises. And then that will lower the cost of the society itself and allow the society and committee to subsidise things like tours, like socials, hoodies, everything really.
Cecilia?
Yeah, so I think the participation grant is a really good thing to have, especially from my perspective with working with sports committee. It's good for sports clubs because membership's a lot higher, but for societies, I feel like they need to have a bit more knowledge of how to work out costs. So whether that's to do with how much they charge their members, and have a guideline to work from the start of the year till the end. And also our SU generates a lot of money through students using the shop, using Bar One, Interval, and I feel like we could work with a policy where a certain amount of money goes towards various societies that find it difficult to generate money themselves. And then I also agree with Luke's point with getting local businesses and community help to enhance the way societies are more efficient with their finances.
And last, Harry, obviously you've spoken a bit about it already.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Cecilia and Luke particularly have been talking about, like practical aspects of this, are very true, and they raise some very valid points. But I think what this really reflects, the increasing money being spent on participation grants, is actually something that should in effect be celebrated, because this is much more kids from more disadvantaged backgrounds getting into universities. And I don't think this should be seen as a problem. I think this is something that's fantastic. And in reality, we kind of face a choice of just letting these kids that are getting in now, which is a really great thing, and disadvantaging them by not allowing them to participate in these kind of activities, or treating this as a problem, like how, why are they coming here? And actually, I think universities should be open to all. And an inevitable kind of consequence of this is that we are going to have to spend more money on participation grants, but I think that's worth it for giving access to more people from all types of backgrounds.
So, just last thing, does anyone have any questions for your fellow candidates? Anything that you want to bring up? So, just going to end on 30 seconds each. why do you think people should vote for you as activities? And we'll just go down the line for this one. So, Zanair.
Yeah, one of the things that I want to introduce is more musical events and a music portal online, which will be called Music, as in Sheffield Music. But anyway, so I've already approached the Kicks to talk about it, and people can upload their individual work and their tracks on it. And there should be more on-campus gigs that would actually contribute to the charity and fundraising programs. That, and then I've realized one more thing, that there's so much events going on during Fresher Weeks that freshers are not really sure which events to actually go to. So what we can do is, during pre-registration, we can actually, during the pre-registration task, we can actually include one more category, certifying that, giving an option of events like, do you want to go to a certain event, you can mark that, and you can actually select your interested events that you can go to, so you can actually finally go to those events, the ones that you're interested in.
Luke?
Yes, so for the last year, I've run what I think quite arguably called the most active society at uni. We have rehearsals every night of the week. We have gigs maybe 2-3 nights of the week. We have cash flow, which I think is very impressive for student-led society. And because of that, I've been heavily involved in all levels of the student union, from financial side to society side to inclusion side. And I know the intricacies of the students' union already. Having worked closely with the current activities officer on lots of issues, from storage to the new link corridor stuff that's going on at the moment. So I already have a lot of first-hand experience with the sort of things that this job will require of me.
Ness?
So basically, all my manifesto policies about inclusion. So I think inclusivity is quite a key point of this uni. And what my manifesto is that I want to bring students to go beyond their campus, not only about their uni life. So what I aim to do is that I will be the active officer. I'm currently 2 societies committees. So one is a large one, volunteering Sheffield. One is a smaller one, which is just a local community society. So it's kind of like I've experienced in 2 different range of societies. So I know that what the difficulties can be. So I would be the activity officer that know exactly what kind of societies difficulties would be. But apart from that, I would be the activity officer that know how to integrate us with the local communities, because I'm currently a youth ambassador of Sheffield Futures, which I work with a lot of tackling, a lot of different society stuff, and I'm currently I've dedicated a lot of time in volunteering in local charities. So that's why I would bring people and would bring students to go beyond the campus and enjoy their life.
Cheers.
Well, I have a lot of policies on accessibility. I'm really interested in bringing societies together, and I'm really, really interested in supporting the committees that run those societies, because I think we have that many amazing opportunities at this university that we should be more encouraged and more celebrated when we do decide to take committee roles. From this year, I've been president of a struggling society, and I know how difficult that can be, and I know how frustrating it can be to have doors slammed in your face from various different places, and I think there could be more support from the union to help that.
Harriet?
I mean, my campaign's built around making societies and activities open to all. I think I've spoken enough about that, frankly. But also, mental health is something that you've heard about already today, and you'll hear a lot more about it today from candidates for all types of debates. And I won't go on about my policies, but I've spoken to a representative of the Mental Health Matters Society, who I'm not sure if I'm allowed to name in this, but I've spoken to him. So if you want to talk about listen to my policies, watch my campaign video, read my manifesto, that's all in there. Generally, I just say I've experienced firsthand the change that society is going to have on someone. I only joined societies halfway through university, and my life has improved so much as a result of joining them, because you just meet so many great people, you learn new skills. It's so important. I didn't realise what an impact it would have on your life, and I think it's really important for more students to get involved in that, because it's had such an impact on me, and I'd like it to have an impact on more students.
And last, Cecilia.
Yeah, touching on what Harry said there. Since joining university, I've had an absolutely amazing time, and that's been because I've been part of societies, committees, so I know how it works from all different aspects of the job. And with being on sports committee, which I feel the sports side of university is really successful, and there's lots of different skills within there that I've learned that I can bring across and contribute towards societies.
I will have to stop you.
Yeah,
So,
that's fine.
Thanks, so that is it from the activities debate. We're going to take another short break. Up next will be international. So, welcome back to Forge Debates. We are here with the international officer candidates. We're just going to jump right into it. So, first question is for Rex. Your manifesto on the SU website seems light on any actual policies. Instead, you talk a lot about your experiences. So, what policies do you actually plan to implement?
Okay, so the reason that there aren't many policies, like actual policies on my manifesto on the EPSU website, is that I felt like my campaign would bring out basically the policies that I wanted to implement, which it has already started to do. So my main point is I want to make the International Students Office more about students and make it more democratic through dropping sessions, basically like office hours, during which I can listen to the ideas and concerns of students. And as I started campaigning, I got amazing ideas from all of you guys when basically talking to people. So some of the ideas that I have developed and that are in my 90-second manifesto are basically, there's a mentoring program for international students that is not publicized enough, and I want to publicize it and to increase it. I also want to take special care of underage students because I came to the UK as a 17-year-old French girl last year, and I realized that you feel really homesick being an international student anyway, but when you're underage and you aren't able to go out, especially during Freshers Week, it's very difficult. So I would like to create new inclusive events, just like an alcohol-free club night, maybe, that would be inclusive of underage students.
So just to follow up on that a bit, you spoke about having drop-in sessions. The officer role is a really, really busy one. I'm sure any of the officers will tell you it is very, very busy all the time. So do you think you'd be able to find practically enough time to actually serve enough international students?
Either through those kind of dropping sessions or maybe with a platform that would be available to students. I feel like dropping sessions is kind of more practical. There is also the idea of time, but I feel like since I want to make the office, since my number one priority is to make the office more democratic, I would have to dedicate my time to those dropping sessions. So yes.
I have something to raise about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we do have the International Students Committee, which is supposed to represent all the international students, and they work very closely with the International Students Officer. So we have a democratic body that you can come to at any point, and they would bring it up to the officer who's in charge with that region or that area. And also from my prior experience, I found it that whenever students have had any concern, they have approached the ISO, and the person, whoever has been in charge, they've been quite frank and friendly and actually solved the matter. So it has been quite approachable till now.
But that is something that works closely with the international student officer, but that is not the international student officer. So as much as it can be helpful, I feel like it's more of the job of the international students officer to do that. And I feel like you often talk about your experience as chair of International Students Committee, if I'm not wrong. But the thing is, it's not very accessible to every student, I would say, because I feel like both those things are not publicized enough. Not to criticize what you've been doing, but I feel like it could use some more publicity.
What's your thoughts on that criticism, Abhinav? Do you think that it could be do with being publicised more? Could there be other ways of getting students engaged in that?
I believe that the International Students Committee and the International Students Officer, they've been publicized throughout from the start of the university level. So when you come during orientation week, you're given an idea of what kind of facilities are there. So not just orientation, but during the start of the semester as well when you join the university. And apart from that, whenever you join a society, they have the information during the training that we have representative committees that are responsible to represent you. And regular emails are sent out by society's newsletter that keep on telling you that there is a body who will represent you, and you can approach them with any concern. And all the information is spread out there, and it has been being given to students, and it is being done for the past 50 years as well, which is evident from this here. So the opportunity is there, It's just, if it's a complaint, then maybe you're not availing the opportunity. That might be the case.
This is not only from my personal experience, but what I gathered from talking with students. And they feel that they don't know what's really going on with both the International Students Committee and the International Students Officer. So I'm not just speaking from my point of view, but from other students as well.
Can I add
Absolutely.
something? Yeah, to both Abhinav and Rex, I think we all have to remind ourselves of one of the most important features of a university, which is inclusivity. There are 300 societies in the university, and each have a very important role to play. I'm sure your role as the chair of the International Committee gives you a lot of experience, and we all have a lot to take in from you. And of course, you know, the International Students Officer should work towards publicizing the committees more. That is what the role is all about. So it really can't be a complaint. I think the 300 societies have their own members, and it's really, you know, it's not very fair on our part to criticize it outright. That's what I feel.
Really good, Joseph.
So as you pointed out, the 300 societies are the ones who send that, but what about students who aren't part of societies?
I think, as Abhinav said, it's already on the website, and the students have means. Of course, the role of the officers, and I'm actually serving as the departmental counselor of automatic control systems engineering, which has enabled me to take part in council meetings every 2 weeks. So I've been closely observing what the officers have been doing all this while, and I think I understand their role very well, the complexities of it too. So I think a major part of the role is about publicizing the events by the societies and publicizing the societies and the movements they stand for. I think that's what the role is all about. So criticizing, you know, a society not being popular would be criticizing the current officers, which I'm surely not going to do.
We're going to have to move on from there, unfortunately. Toby, before we move on to your question, do you have any opinions on what was discussed then, or just kind of in agreement?
I think that aside from the office actually doing loads of work to publicize loads of societies, I think it would be our job as the International Students Officer to make sure that we find ways of getting students to be more involved in these societies like International Students Committee. There is an issue with maybe involvement of international students in different societies and them maybe not having the confidence or not having enough knowledge about them to join them, but they are there and they're there for us to take advantage of as international students, for sure.
So, onto your question, actually. The university's international student support team covers a range of pre-arrival information given to incoming students, from grocery shopping to all the information related to the university. This kind of is the same as a lot of your manifesto points. So we were just wondering, do you feel like you're maybe doubling up on existing resources?
I don't think I'm doubling up. I think that the manifesto points that I made, especially the one that you're speaking about, the mini workshops I wish to implement, they are not the same as the pre-arrival information that you do get. When I joined university, my first few weeks, I actually joined a couple of weeks late, so I missed all the orientation, and I missed Freshers Week, and I didn't have very many friends by the end of, by the time I was beginning university. And so for me, it was a really difficult experience to find where should I get my shopping from. I shopped at Tesco Express for half of my first year, even though Aldi was around the corner, which was really unfortunate. And it means a lot to someone like an international student who already pays so much money for school fees. And so clearly that information was not relayed in a way that I was able to receive it, even without being there at orientation week. So I would wish for a different approach to it, rather than completely taking it away and just doing something else. So, of course, using what we have, the information that we have, and the feedback from what we already do, and just same thing on steroids. Yeah.
So next, Abhinav, you say in your manifesto that you want to ensure the rights of Erasmus and study abroad students in the process of Brexit. Now, the United Kingdom has come out and said that they will continue full participation in the Erasmus programme until they leave the EU. The UK should benefit from all EU programmes until the end of the current budget in 2020. You're only in the, if you were to win, you'd only be in the role for a year. So, do you think there's much point in that policy in the manifesto, considering you wouldn't need to really challenge Brexit?
In a sense, yeah, because it will happen in March 2020. Although the government has said that they will still continue to preserve the rights in 2020, but then something will happen after that with the Erasmus and EU students will build upon whatever decisions will be taken now. And most of the information that is being given by the government hasn't been clear. That's the main point. My point is the clarity of what exactly is going to happen. Because all this information, as you mentioned, hasn't been given out to the students yet. And also, another thing that I wanted to mention was that recently a scandal came out from the government regarding the income that will take place in terms of, I'll be using the wrong word, but the depreciation of economy will still happen. 6%, 8%, 14%, regardless of a hard or a soft Brexit. So such information is not clarified to people. They might have mentioned something, and then some other decision will take place in the parliament because this is an ongoing process. So my idea was that we need a definitive purpose, because if a student comes to study here this year, when I will be enrolled, they will be here studying for 3 years. And that will be until 2021 or 2022. And you still have to ensure that their rights will be protected, and the next officer will have something to build upon it. And then these information is put forward to the parliament as well. So my main plan is, first of all, to have the information clear, and then have the information voiced out through all the NUS and the Students' Union across the country itself. That is what is needed, because Brexit is not just affecting, let's say, Sheffield Students' Union. Whatever the decision is being made will be made for the entire country. And Sheffield is a major voice, because we have put forward the VI International campaign. We have been the best union in the country. So anything that we in terms of anything that we put forward in terms of our policies for international students, or even our, I'd say, apart from policies, our recommendations of how the policy should be towards the parliament will be well noted and taken care of.
Okay, so in short, basically, you want to just inform people what the current situation is rather than actually defend their rights, because the policy does say ensure the rights of Erasmus study abroad students. Their rights are already pretty assured. So it would just be kind of a case of informing them what the situation would potentially be in 3 years' time.
So I've mentioned ensure the rights in the first paragraph. That said that, but the main point regarding immigration is ensure that the information is clear. That's my main point, to improve the immigration in terms of having clarity, having it being more articulate, because everyone that you speak to has no idea what's going on, and then they wouldn't be able to make a decision.
I have a question. On your poster, it says that you want to lobby to have more transparency on the Brexit.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you intend to lobby?
So the MP of Sheffield, Paul Bloomfield, serves as the secretary of the All Parliament Party Group. And he's also on one of the APPGs for international students. So that he has worked closely with the Students' Union I think he used to be the general manager, and he's been in touch with the ISO and the ISC as well. So that is one person who can raise our concerns in the parliament, and then we would lobby with him to raise the concerns, and not just him. All the information then comes to the university as well. So I've mentioned the point that I'll lobby the university to make Brexit more transparent, because you have to get the information out of them. But how would they get the information? That's where the local council comes in. That's where the MPs come in. That's where they get the information from out there, because they are at power and they would know what's going on. And if they are not being told, then they will actually lobby the government for it. And same goes with the NUS as well. We lobby the NUS to get the information out. Because if you have a major student body whose voices are being heard, that is important.
But when the UK is already unclear what's going on with Brexit, how do you think that one MP is going to help you lobby for more Brexit transparency? Because the UK is not the only person you should lobby for transparency, but the European Union. Do you actually think that it's a realistic claim to make?
See, the transparency and the decisions won't come from the EU. It will be a negotiation on mainly on behalf of the UK, who will bring down the policies and what they need. And it will come according to regulations that will set down basically by most of the things will be set down by the UK of what they want and what they don't want.
No, most of the things will be set down by negotiations between Michel Barnier and Theresa May.
Mm-hmm. But apart from that, I'm coming back to the point of making Brexit more transparent. We are going to the political discussion of what exactly will happen with Brexit. That is not my plan. My plan is to have the information clear of what's going to happen with students.
Yes, but you can't make Brexit more transparent without knowing what's going on with the EU.
Which is what's the thing, for us to approach the Parliament through the local council MPs. And
You want to approach the European Parliament.
You could do that, yes.
Is that a realistic claim?
We can go and approach the NUS, and the US can go and approach the European Students' Union as well. But my claim is basically for the NUS itself.
You said the European Student Union?
Yeah.
You mean the European Parliament?
No, the Union of Students.
I'll stop you there. So on to Rupika. You stated in your manifesto that you want to maximise the facilities within the university for international students to follow their cultural practices. There are already multi-faith venues and prayer rooms, so we're just wondering what other facilities how would you expand on that?
Right, so there are 3 prayer rooms, if I'm not wrong. One the SU, one the Diamond, and one in the IC. So I was just looking to making it more, because see, already Sheffield is a very diverse university. The facilities are pretty good. So the kind of development that I'm looking for is maybe increasing the prayer room venues in a lot more places, and also introducing a halal section more for the Islam students to eat from the SU eateries. So things like that. I was just, that particular point was about introducing and clearly labeling halal edible items and maximizing the prayer rooms, including more prayer rooms.
Most SU outlets not already serve halal?
They do, but I think the kitchen and the Diamond, they don't have, there are not many options. And by halal, we're just referring to the practices of Islam. There are a lot more religions as well. So there are certain sections in the Hindu who do not eat onions and garlics. They do not come under the section of vegan or vegetarianism. So finding out and exploring a little more about more cultures and more religious practices, so that we can include more of their the allowed food items in the menu of our educations.
Okay, so we're going to have to end it there. Thank you very much to our international officer candidates. We will be back again in 10 minutes for the big one, which is presidents.